All right.
Got your
Oh,
screen.
you got my screen. Okay. Thank you, Katie. She knows I was about to ask. She's always playing chess. This is this is one of my favorite topics. Productivity. I know that might sound dry to some of you, but oh no, there is so much here to discuss. And we have been working on something behind the scenes for a little while. So we're talking about through the 7 habits of highly effective people, right? And we just talked about the last habit. Who can tell me what the last habit was? Habit 3.
Again, with the end in mind.
Oh, that is habit 2.
Ooh, tag
Put the first things first.
There you go. Put first things first. Habit 2 needs to come before habit 3, so you do get points for that. Right? Be proactive. Begin with the end in mind. So we're going to accept that we can take responsibility. We're going to design what we want our life to be like, and then we're going to put first things first. We're going to prioritize and move forward with that. And to make that applicable, we've been working for a little while on developing a individual productivity. We can call it a system, but I don't want to. You can think of it as a program or a plan or a system. This isn't going to be any new technology, though. This is going to be something that we do directly in our inbox in Gmail. And it's a way to, well, there you go. It's a simple strategy for processing the inbox, organizing tasks, and prioritizing work. So we're going to introduce this new productivity system today. I'll spend a little bit of time, during the rest of this meeting introducing it, talking about some of the ideas, where it came from. And then after this meeting, I'll be sending an email out that will have some homework assignments to set everything up so that everyone's ready to move forward with implementing this new system. Now, you might be somebody who already has a really great system in place for your productivity and you're feeling quite confident and you don't fall behind on tasks. And that is awesome. Thank you. We'd love for you to try this for a couple of weeks. And that's not necessarily if you go to adopt it and it's not necessarily for you, that's okay. You can revert back to your old system as long as you're getting all of your tasks done. But I found that this has been a really helpful system, and we've trialed it with Brandy, Casey, Summer, and David. Now we had a little task force that worked on this for a few weeks, got a lot of feedback, and all of them were able to successfully implement the productivity system. And when I followed up with it, this was about a month ago, when I followed up with everyone last week, everyone's able to stay more on top of their email, on top of their tasks. And it's a really nice, it's so nice to have a strategy for, okay, when an email comes in, where does it go? What do I do with it? A way of looking at your tasks and your work so that it's organized and prioritized. It really is a game changer when you have a good individual system. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. That's what we're going to be introducing. And I'm really excited to talk about it. We have Brandy and we have Casey in the house. And so Brandy and or Casey, each of you had an opportunity to trial this and give it a go. I'm curious, what has been your before? Brandy, you go first. What has been she's like, I should have prepared you both a little better for this, but what is your kind of before and after experience of implementing this new system?
So for me, Google or Gmail was completely brand new until I started at Cooper Connect. So I know nothing except the basics. So this helps me a lot. I already kind of had it in place. Like my email was used as my to-do list in a sense on what needed to be done. But this helped organize it a lot more. So I would say definitely try it and be patient. I was the one that asked the dumb questions. So I promise you nothing you asked will not be dumber than what I asked. But I like it. It's helped a lot and I'm still using it.
Awesome. You did not ask any dumb questions. You asked great questions, and it was really helpful, actually. What about you, Casey? What's been your before and after with implementing the system? How has this helped or not helped?
So I have ADD. It's a big surprise for most people.
What?
But whenever I open my inbox and have, at the beginning of the day and there's like 27 or 30, I don't know where to start. So being able to scroll through and be like, okay, these can wait. Medium. These are from an operator. These are the high priority. And like at the start of my day, I can organize the rest of my day on where the focus needs to go first. And so being able to kind of compartmentalize them, because that helps my brain. Then I can go back and then Dave taught me a trick on how to add a task to my calendar. It's great.
Ooh.
And the easy way to do it. So it took like 5 seconds. So then I can go back and be like, okay, this needs to be addressed, but it doesn't need to be addressed today. Like which
Right.
one of these items need to be, and kind of prioritizing them based on that helps me kind of organize my thoughts. So I'm not like, oh, candidate inactivity, oh, operator, oh, and then I'm kind of like
Mhm.
volleying back and forth and really getting nothing done because my brain is going like I'm short circuiting. So this way I don't short circuit.
Awesome. So this is, we should have, this is the system I should have rewritten. This is the system that'll help you not to short circuit when you're trying to stay organized, when you're trying to get things done. It puts everything into a system that you can easily see. So I'm going to introduce it right now. The concepts for this productivity strategy come from a book called Getting Things Done by David Allen, which is just kind of a productivity Bible, if you will, of, he developed an incredible system for how to think about work and how to think about prioritizing things. And really more than anything, it's just what's the process for deciding and taking your tasks and how do you organize them properly. He just has a wonderful system for this. And what he talks about in his book, and we're all experiencing this right now, is that we just have these new demands and we have insufficient resources. So work nowadays, it doesn't have very clear boundaries. Everyone working from home now, working from a computer, I think especially, here at Cooper Connect, we were built to be remote, obviously from the get-go. And so there can be some lack of boundaries at times if you're not careful. And, roles are changing, jobs are changing, lives are changing. And so with just all the new demands that we have and, not feeling like we have enough time, we're having this problem because although our mind is great for creating ideas, it's really not going to be the best tool we have for tracking things. And yet there is a good chance that right now you are tracking a ton of ideas and tasks in your head. David Allen has a quote that I like. He says, there's usually an inverse relationship between how much something is on your mind and how much is actually getting done, right? You tend to be thinking about something a lot and you're not actually able to take action on it. And so if our minds are better at creating ideas, at processing ideas, but not the best containers when it comes to tracking and remembering ideas. And what David Allen talks about here is, when you do have a good productivity system, the promise is that if you do something like this, and this is a term that you'll hear common, is that you'll be able to achieve a state that he refers to as a mind like water. And so if you think about the analogy of your mind being like water, and think about when a stone is thrown into a pond of water, right? There's going to be water wrinkles around the stone, but in the end, the water is going to find its way to go back to that stillness and back to that peace. And the argument is that when you have a good system in place, a good process in place, that your mind is going to react the same way, because something's going to get thrown in whenever your thought's going to be triggered by an external event and it starts to wrinkle. You have the time and you have the space to bring it back to balance because you have a system to take, hey, there's this thing that came into, that's an action for me, and I can put it into a system. And so when you are properly implementing a productivity strategy like this, important things aren't going to slip by you. You're going to be, prepared for working that day because you've got your actions that are organized. You have a clear head. You don't need to be tracking or remembering anything because you've got it all organized. Another quote, he says, if it's on your mind, then your mind isn't clear, right? And so the idea here is that we want to move toward having a clear mind. The last two things, I'll talk about this real quick. Just what we're doing here is we're dealing effectively with internal commitments. And so when we're stressed, we have a lot of things that are pulling our attention that doesn't really belong where it should go. That's going to create a lack of focus. And when we're not focusing, we're not going to focus on the things that are important to us, those internal commitments that we've made. And so the aim of a philosophy like this or a strategy like this is to deal effectively with all those commitments that we have so that we can get back to a peaceful state of thinking. And what we're doing is the process here, and we're going to talk about the process and the plan on the next slide. I've got a couple of slides that are going to really break this down really clearly. So if you're still like, what are we talking about? Don't worry, we're getting there. But what we're doing is we're managing our actions. And so the key to managing anything that is coming into your mind or anything that's coming into your inbox is what you're going to take action on is ultimately going to be the thing that matters. What matters ultimately is what you do. And so getting things done is going to require these basic components of, understanding what it means to finish a task. What does done look like? And so we really want to be clear about defining our outcomes, and then defining what the action is to get there. So this is the strategy that comes from the book Getting Things Done, where he just talks about, hey, having a really solid system in place, with these difficult times, with these new times that we're in, we just have we're access to, the messages that are constantly coming in, pinging us. It just is quite difficult to know where to put our attention. And when we're putting our attention everywhere, we tend to not focus on the things that we need to be committed on. And so if we have a system in place that processes things as they come in, we can have more peace of mind, the same way that a stone would get thrown into the mine. All right, we have to handle it for a minute, but the ripples smooth back out and we don't feel as overwhelmed or as stressed, allowing us to deal more effectively with those internal commitments. And the way we're going to get there is by managing the actions we take each day. And so we need to have a system to know how to manage our actions. So that's kind of the premise of the argument of how this philosophy and this idea is laid out. And now let's get practical. So what does this look like? I've got 2 slides that are really going to break this down clearly. This first one has a lot of words. The next one is just pictures. It's quite nice. It's a little diagram. So here's what we're doing. We're going to be treating our Gmail inbox as a place to process email, but we're not going to ever keep email in our inbox. Everything that comes into our inbox, where our inboxes are all going to be empty. And some of you right now are looking at 2,000 some odd emails and you're like, ha, that's funny. I'm telling you right now, Casey, she had some crazy some odd email in there and she's got 0 emails right now. And Casey, how's it feel? She was supposed to say good right there.
So good. I said so.
I need your thumb on that mute button because I'm going to need just like some rally cries every once in a while. You know what I'm saying? All right. So here's the plan. Here's how it works. Stuff is going to come in the inbox. Emails are going to come into your inbox. When an email comes into your inbox, you're going to ask the question, is it actionable? That's what we're wondering. Is there an action associated with the email that just came in for me to do? If the answer is no, there's no action, no problem. We're going to archive the email or we're going to label it for future reference, right? We've got our labels system inside of Gmail, so we can put it into a reference point if it's a particular situation that we want to reference in the future. Maybe it's a recruiting activity report comes in. All right, you don't have any actions to take on it. Let's go ahead and put that email into the folder for my, recruiting activity reports, or a particular client relationship that you're tracking conversations with, right? You can archive it that way, or you can file it that way, or you can archive the email. Just FYI, we don't generally have any need to delete any emails in Cooper Connect. We have a giant database to store all of our old emails. And so you don't feel like you have to delete things. You can just archive them. Archiving them just keeps them available to you at some point in the future if you ever wanted to look it up for any reason, and deleting them removes them completely from the system after 30 days. And so that's why I say archive instead of delete. So the first question, is it actionable? If no, we're going to archive it or we're going to label it. If the answer is yes, then we have a couple of options now. The first thing is, if it takes less than 2 minutes, we do it immediately. This is an excellent rule of thumb when it comes to deciding how we're going to move. This is a magic rule. If it's less than 2 minutes, you knock it out. If it's more than 2 minutes, we're going to do something else with it. But you don't need to add it to a list or add it to your schedule. If it's something that takes less than 2 minutes, then just get it done. Use that, respect that rule, and just stick to it, because it makes things, it will prevent your task lists from being bogged down with a bunch of little tiny tasks. So if it's less than 2 minutes, we do it. If it takes more than 2 minutes, then we've got a couple of options here. We're either going to delegate it or we're going to defer it. So if the action should go to someone else, then we delegate it to them. And we're going to have a label that everyone's going to set up their Gmail. And so that's the email you'll get afterwards. It's, hey, here's how to set up your Gmail for this plan. And then I'll have another video that you can watch that I'm live processing my inbox and showing you how I do things and everything. And so it's just a nice kind of how-to explainer that shows you how to do everything. But what we'll do is if if you are not the person that should be doing it, you're going to delegate it to someone else and you're going to add the appropriate label. You add that appropriate label to it because at the end of every week, we're going to go and we're going to click on that label inside of our Gmail and we're going to check to see if the things that we're waiting for have been responded to and if we need to follow up with that. That's why we add on a label. But if we're not going to do it and if we're not going to defer it, if we're not going to delegate it, so if it's for us, then we're going to defer it, which means that we're going to do one of two things. We're either going to add it to a task list or we're going to schedule the task to be done. So if we're going to add it to a task list, everyone's going to have 2 task lists that are available for them to use depending on the urgency of the task. And so this is where we're going to prioritize all of the actions into one of 2 lists. We're going to have the high priority list to use for tasks that need to be done by the end of the day. And we're going to have the mid priority list to use for tasks that need to be done by the end of the week. And so this will be a really nice way. You get an email that comes in. It's a client that reaches out asking you a question. All right. And he's asking a complex question. So it's going to take you more than 2 minutes to get to him. So you're going to take that email and immediately just put it into your high priority task list. This is going to be right in front of you. It's not going to be somewhere where you have to go find it later. In your Gmail, we're going to be dividing your Gmail account into a couple of different, and the how-to video will give you a better explanation of this, but we're going to have your Gmail set up with a couple of different inboxes that'll be available to you right when you log in. And so you're going to see your high priority task list right there to take action on. And then of course the mid priority task list for things that are due by the end of the week. And so these can be other types of inquiries that come in that aren't high priority, but you need to get to that week. And then the other thing that we do right, instead of we can add it to a task list or we can schedule it. And scheduling a task would need to be, you only schedule things that need to be completed, by or on a specific day. And so, and usually on a specific day is how I like to use my task list. If it needs to be done by a particular day, I usually just add it to a task list. But if it needs to be done on a certain day, on a specific day, then I'll schedule it to be done on that specific day. And once again, straight from your email, we'll send you a video that'll show you how to add a task, as Casey was just mentioning, straight to your calendar. So that way, when you go to your calendar that day, you can not only see just the events that you have, but you can also see the tasks that are due for that day. So that's an explanation of the plan and how it's laid out. This next slide is kind of nice though, because it'll provide you with just a diagram of how all of this works. So let's move along. So here is a breakdown of the plan in a diagram. We've got our Gmail inbox. We get an email that comes in. The first thing we ask is it actionable? That's the question that should always be on your mind when an email comes in. All right, is this actionable? If there's no action associated with it, then you're going to sort it into an archive. You're going to archive it, or you're going to add it to a reference list by adding a label. If it is actionable, the first question you ask is, will this take less than 2 minutes? If it will take less than 2 minutes, then you're going to do it. If it's going to take more than 2 minutes, if the answer is no to that question, then you have your options, right? You can either delegate it or you can defer it. If you're delegating it, you're going to add a waiting label. If you're going to defer it, you're either going to schedule it or you're going to add it to one of 2 task lists. So you got an email that comes in, recruiting activity, something, right? Just something that's not actionable. All right, I'm going to reference this. I got another email that just came in from Spark Hire, their monthly newsletter. I don't need this. I'm not going to spend any time here. I'm going to archive this real quick, right? They're not actionable. I'm going to get rid of them. All right, here comes another email. It's from, Julie's asking me a quick question. This will take less than 2 minutes. Let me knock it out real quick. It's actionable. It takes less than 2 minutes. I'm going to knock it out. All right, this is actionable. This is a question that she's asking that's going to take a little bit longer for me to do some investigation. And so it's for me to do. So I'm going to defer this. And for this particular thing, this is, here are things that are high priority. I need to do this today. Here are the low priority, mid priority things that I got to do by the end of the week. Or, hey, this is something that needs to be done. I have a client that they get back in town on Tuesday. So I need to follow up with the client on Tuesday. I need to answer this. I need to get to this client on Tuesday. And so I can add it and schedule it just like that. So this is the plan kind of broken out in a diagram form. And it's so simple. I think that's what I love about this system more than anything. It's just, you're just asking a couple of questions. Is it actionable? If no, you know what you're doing with it. If yes, you've got a system for that as well. And ultimately, when it comes to kind of how you're going to be visualizing your work during the week, you're going to see that you've only got a couple of spots that you're going to keep tasks. You got 2 task lists that you're going to add these tasks to, or you've got your calendar. And so that's where you're going to go to kind of look at the work that's available to you for the day. And so it's, it's Thursday and I don't have anything in my high priority. Let me go to my mid priority. What's due by tomorrow, right? There's always kind of that next thing that you've added to a list so that you can properly prioritize your work. And then, right, we're delegating something to someone else. We add a new label to it. There are going to be some rules to this to make this program work, to make this system work that I'll go over on the next slide. But, we have this waiting folder, this waiting for label, rather, I should say. And, when we're waiting for someone to reply to us, it's just nice to have a space where I can go and say, okay, what are the things that I've assigned this week? Who have I been reaching out to? What are the important things? I'm waiting for this client to get back to me. I can add it to a place where I can review it at the end of my week. It's Thursday and it's time for me to do my weekly review of all my task lists. I have an opportunity to kind of see, what I've sent out that I'm waiting for. So all of this, by the way, we have everything that I just went over and everything that's going to be on the next slide is all inside of a doc that I'll share with you that includes all this information as well as a really detailed kind of how to use this system, how to do all the different functions, and how to get it all set up. So, and we got David here who's going to be helping out a ton. So you can, he helped, Brandy, Summer, Casey, make sure they had everything set up. And we created a training video on how to create everything also now to get it all set up. So it should be straightforward, but he's perfectly available to help with all of this as well. The rules. All right. In order for this system to work, we have to stick to a few ground rules, y'all. And they're pretty straightforward. So 3 rules that have to be followed in order to keep this whole system running efficiently. Number 1, you have to do this. If it takes less than 2 minutes, you have to do it right away. You have to follow this rule. It's the first and most important rule of keeping this system running smoothly is taking anything that takes less than 2 minutes and just knocking it out. Don't add it to a task list. You will bog down your task list way too quickly. And you'll start to treat your task list with a little bit less respect because it's just going to have a bunch of quick little things. And it's like, all right, let's get it over. And let's do it as soon as it comes in, if it takes less than 2 minutes. The second rule, every single day, you are going to do what's called achieve inbox 0. That means everything in your inbox has been processed and your inbox is empty. So with this system, your inbox, your Gmail inbox is just a processing center. It's no longer the place where we keep anything. If we have an email that's actionable, it's going to a list. If it's not actionable, it's going somewhere. And if it's something that we can do quickly, we're going to knock it out. So what's nice about this is you really know if something's waiting on you, because you're going to be using your inbox as a place for processing email. So, everyone who's implementing this, we pretty much every day, we're going to make sure that our inbox has no emails in it. And it's easy to do once you get this down because, maybe you get 20 emails throughout a day, but if you really look at them, you'll realize, okay, maybe these 6, I'm sure we all get way more than 20 in a day, but these 6 are non-actionable. These 4 took me less than 2 minutes. These 10, these are 2 that I forwarded to someone else. These 8 I'm going to take and divide between my task lists. I'm going to schedule this one for a particular day. It's really, if the longest an email is going to take you is 2 minutes, because it's the 2-minute rule, then even if you have 40 emails, the longest, if you have 30 emails, I'll say the longest it would take you is 60 minutes, right? That's if every single email you were going to do in that moment and it took you less than 2 minutes. So it really is, it might sound intimidating to have an inbox 0, but once you get this system down and you realize how easy it is to process your email and get it onto a list, getting to inbox 0, getting your inbox empty every single day, we use the term inbox 0, that's what we celebrate, is very doable. So that's what we're going to do every day. And then also complete all the tasks in the high priority task list. And this ensures that the high priority tasks are handled with the urgency they deserve. And so if you are going to put something in high urgency, that means you need to do it that day. It becomes important to just treat the systems that you create with respect, including your calendar, right? If you add something to your calendar, you say, hey, this has to be done on Friday. And then it comes to Friday and you're like, oh, let me just move it to Monday, right? Oh, let me just move it. You kind of just move it down. You start to not have respect for your system. You start to not trust your system. And, now all of a sudden adding something to a calendar doesn't really mean anything. You could just add it to a task list because, you're just that doesn't actually have to be done by that day. So treating your calendar as a sacred space. All of this is just about creating clear boundaries between your lists and really saying, okay, if this is high priority, it's done today. If this is mid priority, it's done by Friday. And otherwise I can add it to my calendar and it has to be done on that day. Right. So treat the lists. We have boundaries that are defined. So treat them as they should be treated. And then what we'll do also, this is critical for success of the system, is every week on Thursday, we're going to conduct what's called a weekly review. And so during this time, you're going to look at the high priority task list, your mid priority task list, and you're waiting for labels, and you're going to get really clear about your priorities, and you're going to get current about the status of all your tasks. And this is going to provide that opportunity for you to follow up, right, with any of the anything that you're waiting for. You can reorganize things. Hey, I'm looking at this, mid priority, and I need it. I need to get it done by Thursday. You add it to your calendar instead, right? You can move things around. And so in the productivity channel, we'll be following up, and we want to have everybody follow this system for a minimum of 2 solid weeks and give it a real trial to see if this is something that works for you, because having a good system for managing the tasks that come to you is critical for having just good productivity and having peace of mind. When you step away from your work, you feel okay, because when you step back to your work, anything that's new that's come in is going to be the 5 emails in your inbox or whatever it is. You stepped away for a minute. You've got your high priority task list for the things that you're going to do right away. You've got your calendar items. It just creates a really nice, clear system for how and when and what to do to move things forward. So that is the full presentation. Oh, note, if a task is assigned to you via Zoho Projects or Zoho CRM, you will still need to update the task as completed within the application. All right. So if you get a task in Zoho Projects, you're still going to add it. Hey, this has to be done by Friday. I'm going to add it to my mid priority. You still have to go in and click into the task to let the company know that the task was in fact complete. So I've got like 1 minute. So I'll share my screen this way and just show you that you're going to be getting an email that's going to have a link to this individual productivity system, where the plan that we just went over, as well as the diagram and the rules, are all going to be kind of at the top half of the document here. From there, you're going to see a section here that says how to process the inbox. And there's, a 10-minute or so, I don't know how long, 10-20-minute training video on demonstrating how to process your inbox. So how to do all of these tasks. They're all written out. All the steps are as well. So it really shows you how to move emails around. We're going to be using a labeling system for this. And so watching the how-to will show you, okay, hey, here's how, I process, 10 emails or so. So you can kind of see how that's done. And then, but the first thing you'll be doing, and you'll get this in the original email that I send, is just the setup instructions. So it's got an instructional video for breaking down how to set up your inbox. There's a couple of steps here. There's 3 things you're going to have to do to make sure it's all set up correctly. But that is the plan. We are right at time. And so keep an eye open for an email from me. And we're going to get this thing rolling. I'm really excited to launch this and to get everyone kind of organized and on the same page with this, and introducing some new language to the company too, right? Weekly review, inbox zero. These are things that you'll start to hear more and more. So I'm really excited to launch this. That's it. Feel free to stick around if you had anything you want to chat about. Otherwise, thank you all so much for everything that you're doing. It's just so impactful. Operators are just raving right now. And so it's really neat to just see the impact that we're having, and just appreciate everything you do. We'll see you same time, same place in 2 weeks. Have a great rest of your day, y'all. Talk to you later.